And welcome everyone to the greatest Outer Wilds adventure.
Wait, you muted yourself in Discord, Julian, I think.
I did mute myself in Discord, but everyone else could hear me.
Okay. Hey!
So I did say the intro already, but welcome everyone. Thank you, Heather, Julia, and Matt, all for joining me in my very last-minute idea, which is more like a month of planning of...
Yeah, this isn't last minute. We've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah. And we've been waiting for a while, because Julie, I think you were the first one to beat Outer Wilds, then it was Matt, and then I got to it, and then Heather. And actually, Outer Wilds is how I met every single one of you, because Heather came and raided in, and now I've got 3 wonderful friends who I've just absolutely loved getting to get to know and hang out with and chat with. You all are great.
Julian, it sounds like maybe you can turn up me and Matt in Discord.
Matt is Max. I can turn you up.
I'm Max?
Actually,
I'm Matt. I'm not Max. I'm Matt.
What'll work better real quick
Get it right or pay the price.
I mean, I can also bring the mic closer if need be.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of headroom.
Thanks for letting us know, guys, how we sound.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not that fancy with my setup yet.
Yet.
Everyone should be a little bit better. Let me know if anyone individually is worse.
Is that Outer Wilds art in your background, Julian?
As a matter of fact, that is Outer Wilds fan art in my background.
Yes.
Which you guys can just barely see there on the stream right here. While I was playing Outer Wilds, my girlfriend and I went to a paint and sip somewhere in Seattle with her aunt and her sister, and they wanted to do this full moon thing, and I'm sitting there, you know, painting along, and I was like, I don't like how this moon looks, and I just like kept going at it. It was like, oh, this is looking better, except this doesn't look like a moon anymore. And it made me think of Giant's Deep, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna add some curved trees to it and a little shooting star as the interloper, and what you can't make out is there's a very tiny fire in the tree line. So
Amazing.
But yeah.
Okay, so I have an idea for us to get started.
Go for it.
I'm curious about how all of us came to Outer Wilds. Because I don't know.
Like why we played it in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. Because Julian, you brought up the fact that, like, you know, the order that we played it in, but how did we start playing it in the first place?
It's a good point.
In a spaceship.
Why don't we go in order of who completed it last?
So backwards.
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay.
So I decided to play it because I actually saw Julia playing, and she gave me the wonderful heads up, like, don't spoil yourself. So I was like, oh, I'm intrigued. What kind of game is this that you need to go in like absolutely blind? And then Matt ended up playing it, in which I would pop in very quickly as to not understand what was happening. So I'd be in for 5 minutes and like back out. And then eventually it was ready. I was ready to give it a go, and my, what a fun journey it was.
Yeah.
On your Mystery Mondays. What a good fit for Mystery Mondays.
I know, it was a perfect fit. So the 2 of you are responsible.
Happily so.
In the best way possible.
Also, jumping in to say, chat is letting us know that they are only half on the screen.
Should be all good now.
Okay. There we go.
Much better.
Perfect.
So Julian, why did you start playing it?
Yeah.
So I had a couple of friends that really recommended it to me. Mainly it was Shadow284 there in chat, and Awesome Matt G, who I don't think is here. But both of them kept telling me, you would love this game, just don't look it up. You would love this game, just don't look it up. And I'm like, I always look up a little bit about games, like at least the Steam page, and they're like, don't even look at the Steam page, read nothing on it, just buy the game and play it. And I had the opportunity to get it one point, and I was like, I don't know if I'll enjoy it. It doesn't seem like my type of game. So I passed on it, and I started streaming some other stuff, and Shadow goes, why aren't you playing it? You need to play it. So he bought it for me. And I was like,
oh, that was nice.
I was like, okay, you bought it for me.
Forced your hand.
It'll be the next game. So whatever game I played before it, I threw it on next, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm anticipating to play. I just know it's about space exploring and talking to people. And boy, was I in for a trip.
Nice. It was also purchased for me, but it was purchased for me like a year before I ever streamed on Twitch or
I didn't know
met
that.
any of you.
Oh.
It was purchased for me by my brother-in-law, who at Christmas usually buys me and Sunny a game that he's played that he thinks we'll like, that we haven't played yet. And so he bought it for me, and I was like, oh yeah, I've heard that this is like a cool thing and like you shouldn't know anything going in. And I played it years ago. I think it was when it was like only on Epic Game Store. And I played it, and I got through the tutorial, and I got into my ship, and I went into space, and I flew into the sun, and I didn't play it ever again.
You mean you didn't enjoy the YOLOing?
I was like, it was one of those things where I was in a bad mood. Like, it was just like, I was in a bad mood that night. And so it was just like, I was just like, fuck this.
Stupid son.
Yes. And then fast forward like a year and a half, something like that. And I had met some of you, and I met Julia, and Julia started playing it. And I was like, oh, it's that game that I like played a little bit of. And I flew into the sun, and then I stopped. And then basically from Julia enjoying it so much and encouraging me to play it, then I was like, yeah, I'll give it another try. And then did.
Gotcha. Well, I have a similar story, I guess. It was recommended to me. I think this is one of those games that is like, it's a really word of mouth sort of situation.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
Yeah.
You know, it's not one of those games that comes out that's a AAA game that people are looking forward to forever because they kind of know what to expect.
Not like the Outer Worlds.
Yeah. So I don't remember what I was playing before it, but some of the people in my chat, particularly D Bitman, who might be lurking here, and Lord Yod, they're two really close friends, and they recommended it to me, and they said this is a really amazing game. And the thing is, for me, I'm not the kind of person who plays a game based on other people's recommendations generally. I have a very strong sense of what I want to play, and it's never a game that I don't know anything about. But they were not pushy, that's not the right word. They were adamant. There we go. They were adamant that I should play this game, and also that I should know absolutely nothing about it. And I listened to them for once in my life, and I didn't look up anything. So when I started the game, it was very confusing. I had no idea, like the setting, everything. I had no idea what was going on. And unlike some people, my first loop, I made it all the way through to the sun exploding.
Wow. What a flex.
And I had I didn't, like, I wasn't paying attention when the music was going and the ray of light was coming through, and like my chat was going, she has no idea what's going on right now, and I was just like and then everything exploded, and I reappeared back at the campfire, and I went, what? And that really sort of dug me into it in terms of like something wonky and wild is going on. So, yeah.
You know, that makes me think of a question that I would absolutely love to ask you all. I know Matt kind of said it, and Julia, you just went over it, but what was your first loop like, and how did you feel at the end of it?
Well, I just said it, so I'm gonna point at Matt next for this one.
Well, it was, I mean, with that one, I feel like this, for me, it's the difference between like, what is it like playing a game like this by myself, and what is it like playing a game like this on Twitch with other people?
Yeah.
And it's
I think we should talk about that for sure.
Yeah, it's a completely different experience, and like, I think that I know that part of like why this game will sort of always stick with me is the communal experience around it, both when I was a player and then when I stopped being a player and I became an audience member, or like, especially like, even just the like string of like, you know, Julia played it and then modded for me to make sure that I wouldn't get spoiled, and then we both modded for Heather to make sure she didn't get spoiled, you know, like that sort of like shepherding or that sort of just like, here is this precious thing and I have had my time with it and now I want you to have your time with it. And I'm gonna like try to help make your time with it the best it can be. And like that's just like feels very special and like feels very unique.
Incredibly special. I don't remember what my first loop was.
Your first mods?
I do. I would have to. Ooh, yes, I'd have to go back. But I honestly don't remember. Which is funny because I played it most recently, but I think just because I did that in the DLC back to back.
Yeah, the DLC like puts you in an entirely different state of mind. It's such a different thing.
Oh.
Yeah. And so Heather and Drillian both did sort of like base game DLC back to back, right? Whereas Julia and I had a long period of time in between.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's
And I want to sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it's interesting coming into this with you three because you all were in some way, shape, or form, I assume, friends before Outer Wilds, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Or like became friends around the time that Julia was playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so, right? Was that when it was? Probably.
I knew Heather before she started Outer Wilds for sure, because you were coming into my chat.
Yeah.
When I was playing it, and then it took time before we could for later. But yes.
Yeah.
So it's fun for me because like I get to see how it intertwined you three, and I'm kind of sitting back like as you know the interloper, just being like, oh, I see, and then you guys like sucked me in, and I love it. It's just like Matt said, it's very communal, and like looking back, it's even though it's been like such a short amount of time, it's one of those things that I can go, my life would be entirely different if I had not played Outer Wilds and met you three.
Oh.
So.
Well, let me kind of follow up on that thought, which is that like in a slightly different direction, which kind of comes from where Matt was also talking about earlier about this whole like giving the experience to somebody else. And that's that for me, when I finished Outer Wilds, absolutely, like I understand like there's so many there's so many people who love to watch people go through the experience of Outer Wilds. And that's why, you know, the interloper, the Discord channels exist to watch somebody have that experience. But it's never going to be the same experience for anybody, right? And people are going to approach this game in such different ways with different mentalities. And there are people who are going to really love the exploration and the mystery and the unearthing and, you know, the little, you know, lovely clues and the story that you slowly start to piece together. And then there are some people that experience it in a different way. And so like going into different channels, there were some people that I felt that I really vibed with watching play this game and some people that I didn't as much. And I think that's natural, right? But you guys, the way that you experience your games and really like sit down and feel them once you stop being goal oriented, not looking at anybody in particular. Really vibes with me. So I love the fact that, you know, we were able to create this bond with each other from this game, because it's one of those games that really can do that if you're able to like let it be part of you in that way.
Yeah. And for me, even like people use Twitch in completely different ways, right? Some people love being in the whatever channel has 100,000 people in it and they just like love being a witness to whatever is going on that everyone is watching. And other people like to be in channels with like 2 people in it and just like watch somebody stew on something. And for me, the sort of like, I realized I started streaming and then I started watching other streams like after I had already started streaming. And I realized very quickly that like the value proposition of Twitch for me was watching somebody play something that I already love. And like watching them experience it for the first time. And that like, that's what I like about this platform, like that you can do that with games. And so this is, Outer Wilds is just like the like refined into a diamond version of that because of the mystery, because of so many different ways that people can play it, because of like all of those things. And And so it's just sort of like the perfect Twitch game for me.
Yeah.
So long as you have the right people protecting the experience.
Correct.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
This is definitely one of those games that I don't think I would have enjoyed as much if I was playing it by myself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just because there are so many points where if you are interpreting something incorrectly or you're not connecting the dots, as I was prone to do many a time, that you would have to like look up a walkthrough or something, instead of having people who are there to just like gently guide you in the right direction and just reinforce what you already know. Otherwise, I definitely think I would have gotten way too frustrated and probably quit it if I was playing it on my own, to be honest.
And it's like hard, like what do you look up? Like it seems like an unwalk-throughable game.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
like
right,
how do you
because
look
it's
up
not-
something without spoiling something else for yourself? It's
The
not
lake
linear.
bed
linear.
cave.
What did you say?
The lake bed cave. That fucking cave. Sorry.
I'm with you
I
on
know that
that.
Julian doesn't say bad words on stream. I just remember that.
That's just a personal rule. Like that
Oh,
that only
okay.
applies to me.
Okay.
So.
I was like, we're all gonna have to catch ourselves.
Okay, so on that note, what were your most frustrating moments?
Oh
of
my
this
god, what a
game?
good question.
For me, it was definitely, I remember going like, I just kept getting crunched and crunched and crunched in that
Yes.
stupid cave. And I got turned around so many times. I couldn't find the way through. And when I finally did, I was so overwhelmed by it that I just couldn't take the time to sit down and actually figure out the puzzle at the end because I didn't want to have to do it again. And I was telling my chat that I wanted to know WTF here. And they were like trying to be so careful to not spoil me. And I was like, no, tell me right now.
I'm not doing this again.
Not again.
Yeah.
So what about you guys?
I would say probably, I mean, at no point did I get super frustrated because I knew that like you, Julia, and other people in chat like knew me well enough by that point where you could sort of like, you knew when I wanted
I did.
a break or when I wanted a nudge, you know?
Yeah.
So it like never quite got to that point. Cause you would be like, you want to hit? And I'd be like, yes, you know? But like the anglerfish, like going to Dark Bramble for the first time, trying to get to the vessel for the first time. That was that. But I knew immediately, like as soon as we started that, I knew that I was probably gonna like chop it up and make a YouTube video out of it. So like, that let me sort of like focus on having fun instead of like
That's good.
getting frustrated.
Yeah. And I'm just meaning the base game at this point with this question right now.
Okay.
Because
Right.
DLC is an entirely different monster.
Yeah, you would answer that very differently. I think
Very
we just-
differently.
I think for me, it was probably getting into the Ash Twin project. I think that was the most frustrating part for me because I had managed to solve everything else in the game, every other planet, I got all the other information, and I was stuck on that trying to figure out how to get in there. I was scouring all the records and like backtracing, and I was like, I don't get it. How am I supposed to get in here? There's nothing that works. They say that, you know, the planets cause some weird dimensional shift with the teleportation. I don't understand. I went so far as to go to the sun station and put my probe there to watch the clock that like shows when the Ash Twin project is in the right orbit. And I went all the way back to Ash Twin project, and as soon as I got there, the clock despawned. It stopped rendering it to my probe. And I was like, how am I supposed to solve this? And I think Julia and Matt were both there, and I don't know how long it took me, but I think it was a solid like hour or hour and a half.
I don't think I was there.
Oh, okay. I think Shadow was definitely there, but it took me like a solid hour or hour and a half of standing in the Ash Twin towers trying to figure out how to not get sucked up by the sand when it was falling. And it finally broke to me when I just shot my drone onto the ground, and all of a sudden it just disappeared, and I was like, you mean I have to jump into it in the middle of it?
From this delightful little alcove.
I was like,
Yeah.
So that was probably the most frustrating part. And the second I got that, I was like, Oh my god, the heavens have opened up. The world has changed. I know how to
Right.
do this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now I've got a whole new thing.
That epiphany feeling is so good, and Outer Wilds gives it to you so hard. It's like adrenaline rush and serotonin and
Yeah.
like all the good shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about you, Heather?
I would say Lake Bed Cave was definitely one, because I had started on Ember Twin and spent a lot of time there, and I got almost everything there except for that piece. And then I would say the other part was when I was trying to do that final run from ATP to the vessel
Mm.
and the coordinates, and I couldn't figure out that last puzzle and how it
I
rotated.
remember that.
It was like the most disheartening stream I'd ever had in my life.
It was right at the end. You were like already going a little late.
I was already pushing it, so I was already tired. You know, it was like already like other things beyond just the game. But when it like
I
mixed
remember.
together,
You
and I was
remembered
just
that, right?
like, and you guys were like, no, I promise you, this is okay. This is for the best. But at the time, when you don't know that,
We'll
you're
do
like,
it next week.
you mean it's for the best? I want it now.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that's what it was. I think that was like one of the most frustrating points, but I think it was just because of how I was feeling and knowing that I was what I thought was so close to the end, which, yes, you know, you are, but not knowing that there was so much more beyond that point.
Yeah.
So I very clearly remember my time inputting the code to get to the eye, Heather's time inputting the code to get to the eye, Matt's brilliant attempt to input the code to get to the
Oh my
eye.
god.
All for different reasons.
Yeah.
They were all very different situations. We can tell those stories. But I'm also curious, like, Julian, on that last run, when you got to the code, like, how did you figure it out? Did you understand it immediately? What happened for you?
So I think if I remember right, I think I made it to the vessel before I even knew where the code was.
Toon Wolf?
Matt.
No, Julian, here's the thing. The reason that command exists is because I didn't have it when Matt was inputting those codes.
It's all true. It's all true.
Okay, sorry, go on.
I think I found the vessel before I found the coordinates. That was, I think it was before, and Shadow might be able to correct me, but I think it was before I figured out how to get into the center of Giant's Deep. So I didn't know the code. I got to the vessel and I was like, how am I supposed to figure this out? I was like, well, I guess I gotta go here. And, so
but then when you did it in like the final run,
Yeah.
like
No
when
problem.
Okay.
No problem.
I had
breezed
no
right
issue.
there.
Yeah. It
Okay.
after, because like I sat there and played with the console to like try and input stuff for
Without the warp core.
without the warp core for like maybe 20 minutes or so, because like I was just exploring the whole place, and so I understood that like if I complete one, it rotates to the next and then again. So all I was waiting on was actually getting the coordinates, and so when I finally got those,
So
I was
you
like,
knew that you were inputting coordinates.
Or when you saw the coordinates, your brain was probably immediately like, that's for that thing.
That's a good question that I don't quite remember. I don't know. I feel like I had an inkling that it was some kind of coordinates or something, but I didn't have the full information of like, here are the shapes that you put in there.
So for me, what happened was I understood, like, I had ended my stream, my second to last stream, without really knowing what I was supposed to do next. But over the course of the week, because I was only playing it every Sunday, over the course of the week, I had like pretty much twigged on, like, this is the only thing I can think of to do, because there's a vessel, I have a warp core, I have coordinates, I have all the components. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna have to try this. So I knew when I pulled the thing up that I was going to try to put coordinates in it and whatnot. But I had trouble with my controller trying to actually control it in a way that I was getting the coordinates in. And the time was definitely running down. Like, I was feeling the pressure of like, I was here. I finally had gotten past the anglerfish. I didn't want anything to explode. So I was panicking. And like, I was trying to put it in. And I gave up on that. And I switched over to keyboard and mouse, because I could control it better. And I managed to get them in. The thing went down. I crossed the room. I moved the ball. I jumped into the warp, and it was literally the second the sun exploded.
Did it kill you?
No, because I got onto the eye, and in the sky, the sun exploded.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah. That happened. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely remember having a little bit of trouble controlling it, but I think I had practiced it a couple times before I had actually put in the coordinates. So I was like, okay, I kind of know how finicky it is.
I had tried to do some dry runs, but I kept getting eaten by anglerfish. And at that point, I was like, if I actually get there, I want the warp core in my hand.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
You know, like I was like, fuck it, we're going to do it for real. And then I made it.
Incredible timing.
Matt now.
Yes?
Matt's whole situation with the code is the thing of legends.
I made the run on the first try, I think. Or was the second try, maybe?
Maybe, I don't know.
It didn't take many runs. But basically, it's just I got there, and I had figured out the coordinates, and I understood how it needed to work. But I had written them down on an envelope. Like on the back of an envelope. I'd written them down. And so we get there, and I'm like, oh shit, where's my envelope? And so I grab the envelope, and I look at it, and I start doing it, and I realize that I've drawn them incorrectly. That one of them is like a pentagon instead of a hexagon, or a hexagon instead of an octagon, or whatever. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, just trying to, and like, I'm not looking at chat. I'm super focused. And then like eventually I pause, and I'm still just sort of like looking, and I'm like trying to figure out what the thing is. I'm like, don't worry guys, don't worry, I'll figure it out. I did not see that in the bottom left-hand corner, it tells you what the coordinates are.
Yeah. And meanwhile, all of chat is screaming at him because we're trying to get him to notice. I was literally like, I was writing in chat, I am tearing out my hair because I was trying so desperately to get him to look at chat.
Look over here.
And he's just meanwhile over here like this. Well, this is it looks, maybe I don't know what I quite did here, you guys. And it's like.
Yep, that's what happened.
Matt, you want to know what I did?
Yes.
I took a screenshot and had it up on my second monitor.
There you go. Better plan. Still, the devs made it so that we didn't have to do that.
I had no idea. Literally, you just saying that was my realization that they had it in the bottom corner. I had no idea. I took a screenshot. That's what I paid attention to. Looked at nothing else.
Wait, you literally up till right now, you didn't realize that it tells you in the bottom left corner?
Yeah.
Okay, you are now
Incredible
in a special category, Jillian.
Incredible. Incredible. I love
It's
it.
the people who do notice and the people who don't.
Yep.
I'm glad to be in this category with Matt. That's okay.
Yep. Good stuff.
So what was your like favorite moment, epiphany moment that you guys had?
With the coordinates, there is a clip of this where I'm sort of like going on the.
Uh-oh.
Oh?
Matthew. Don't worry, we'll reboot him. It'll be fine.
So someone flip the switch, turn it back on.
Off on.
We're just building the anticipation. I'll finish it when he's back.
Good job, chat. I don't know what to do.
We'll see if he can see Discord, and if he can, I pinged him.
I wonder if his computer just like burped.
He said his internet
broke. Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll wait for Matt to come back, I guess.
Yeah. Better his internet than his computer and shutting down Hollow Knight.
Right.
Oh my god.
That would be the true path of pain. Matt did just potato leave on us. So Beer asks, what were your favorite OMG, this game is beautiful moments?
I like that one too.
Honestly, I think it was my oh, there he is.
He's returned.
Do we want to pick up where Matt left off, or do we want to answer this question real quick?
Let's
Am I back, baby?
Let's table this and let Matt
sir.
answer.
Yeah.
What was I saying?
Oh, patient.
You're. Thank you. Thank you.
I know what you did just there.
We were talking about epiphany moments, favorite epiphany moments.
So I was sort of like in the murder board, and I was like, okay, so we've got these coordinates.
By the way, everybody, Matt is the one who coined murder board. Go on.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, because it's like the Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like with all the lines.
I've never seen it. I know the meme, but I've never seen it.
I know. I've never seen that episode either. The meme is all that matters. But so with that, it was like I was like, okay, we got these coordinates and this and this, and I think I was like pretty much, I was just sort of trying to figure out what the big puzzle is. And there's this moment where I'm just like, coordinates in this shape, and then I'm like, where have I seen that shape before? On the vessel. Oh fuck, I'm gonna have to go back to the vessel. You know, like this whole just like roller coaster of emotion. Because I very famously said after escaping the vessel the first time, thank God I never have to go back there again. And then turns out I did.
He did famously say that, and I said, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Good job.
My favorite epiphany moment is probably actually from the DLC.
Great. Let's talk about the DLC.
It was... So, I had very early on actually set down the lantern in the dream world.
Just by accident?
No, on purpose.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to see what happened, like, if you left it behind. Like,
nice.
So I walked out of the range of it. No, Chai, that is definitely not my favorite epiphany moment. So I already knew that particular mistake, quote unquote, in the Matrix. So when I was trying to do, as Matt calls it, the murder hotel, when I realized that once you blow out the lights, the fuckos, like, you know, the bridge will disappear and the fuckos will spawn and all that stuff. I was so disheartened because I really, really I hate being set upon by things that jump out at you. And I was like in this state of being so bummed about it, like close to the point of like actually wanting to stop playing the game. And I just decided to put down the lantern and start wandering around to see what I could see outside of the scope of normal stuff. And it turns out there's a shortcut bridge, invisible bridge, that is not visible because it's invisible. And when I saw it, it took me a second, but I realized that I could use that to completely get all the way around the fuckos and not deal with them at all. And managing to do that was like one of the best moments of Outer Wilds for me. Like, I was just like, yes, I cracked the code.
Yep.
I was very proud of that.
Julia suplex the murder hotel.
I did. Thank you, Pup.
What about you, Heather?
I feel like it's hard because I feel like there's so many. And because I think my playthrough kind of suffered from as a lot. Well, Matt and Julia did the same thing of playing it once a week. Right, both of you guys did that. So, and I also had a couple week gaps here and there in my playthrough too, just holidays, some vacations, just other things. So there were a lot of epiphanies that were just like remembering what I already learned. But I think, the moment that you realize that you have to do the big final run and go back to the vessel from ATP was a big one. And it was like, oh, okay, I understand. I think, I had another one lined up too, but I just forgot.
Actually,
it was a minor
one too after you.
Geez, what was it? Oh shoot, I'll have to circle back.
Do you want to think about it, and I'll do my other one that I remember? Okay, another epiphany moment for me that I don't know where it came from. It just came to me out of the blue. But when I realized that I could use my signal scope and switch over to the quantum signal and start searching for those quantum rocks. And I realized that they're ones that I hadn't tagged. And I went and I started following and finding those. And I found at the top of Giant's Deep the quantum tower.
Oh yeah.
I totally didn't explore that at all until I started following those signals. And when I went in there and I found the thing, traversing that tower, I think might have been one of my favorite parts of the base game.
That was really cool.
Yeah, and I am proud to say I made it through in one loop, first try, which was very satisfying to be able to like manipulate it and pick up on the cues that it gave me.
Yeah, I love the design of that puzzle.
Yeah, that was.
I enjoyed that puzzle a lot.
I think I got to that puzzle at the end of a loop, so I couldn't do it in one try like Julia, but it was one of those things where I looked at my murder board and was like, there's something I'm missing on Giant Steep, and I thought it was the center. And I think somehow I happened to stumble into the northern portion of it where the giant tornado was, and once I got on the other side, I went, there's a tower here? What?
Huh?
And yeah, so that was my moment of just like, I had no idea I was even missing this, because nothing about it.
Because
Like,
there are so many cyclones already.
Yeah.
Like, why would that one be special?
yeah, and I think I was actually looking for the one that sucked me under, and I happened to hit that one, and I was like, wait a second. So.
I remembered my other one.
Okay, go for it.
Sorry.
No.
I wrote it down so I won't lose it.
Okay.
The jellyfish.
Ah.
Figuring out how to utilize the jellyfish to get to the center of
How do I
Giant
penetrate
Steep.
this jellyfish in just the right way?
Ask for consent.
Well, that was the whole thing. She was roasting me about not asking for consent. And then we had to woo our jellyfish first.
Yeah.
And then we had to take them to dinner first. Before all of that.
we ate it. Never mind.
You know, but before our other extracurricular activities happened. So, not only was it like, it was a great epiphany to figure it out, but it was also just one of like the funniest moments in there. I don't know. It's just Cha and myself. We were just having like a really fun time with it.
Yeah.
So it was a minor.
That was one of my favorite of your
epiphany.
Outer Wild streams for sure.
Yeah. So that was one of my favorite ones.
Did any of you guys try to fly your ship up in the jellyfish first, or did you get out and try to swim up in it?
I think I just got out because I had bumped against it with my ship enough that I knew that the ship got electrocuted. So I didn't try to actually fly under with the ship, because I figured the tentacles might actually do that to the ship too. I just went on my own.
I didn't want to leave my ship. I immediately tried shoving my ship inside a jellyfish.
Look.
Wow.
What's that, Heather?
I tried it once and it was like, okay, this is not the way.
Yeah. After the first one, I was like, do I try it again? No, it's fine. But
are there things that you guys have like, because we've all watched other people play at this point. Are there things that you've watched other people do in their runs that like you never would have done it that way or thought that way about it when you did it? Because one of the things for me, this comes to mind as a question, because like I always see people try to come at the big cyclone from underneath, and just it never even penetrated brows that you could come from underneath. I definitely flew in from outside from above.
I think I flew in from above as well. I didn't think about going underneath.
That's the thing. Like, I would never have like.
Pup has a good example.
Yes.
Oh my god.
When Arrowess YOLO'd her way through the cactus room to Sun Station.
Oh,
I
okay,
did.
that cactus room.
She used her jetpack to try to fly through.
I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I made it.
Yeah.
Not waiting for the sand.
Me too.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, "You could do that?" I was like,
Yeah.
"You're not supposed to do it that
If
way."
you try
I
hard
know,
enough.
that's what I thought too. I was like, but obviously, like,
Yeah. Why else use a jetpack? I mean, come
why?
on.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
I did recently watch someone, and I actually put them in the Interloper. I was watching her play through, and she was trying to solve the quantum moon, and she was trying to get the quantum moon to stay still. So what she did is she flew to the Ash Twin Project and found the Quantum Moon locator, and then she threw her drone down on the Quantum Moon symbol because it always points to the moon.
So it spun and she took pictures?
So, like, she would wait until it stopped, she would see where it was, and then she'd throw it on there and then take pictures of where it was and then fly toward it. So
Oh.
That's so clever. In a weird, it's just like...
Yeah, it's like a lot more work than you need, but it's very clever.
Yes.
Well, the problem she had, though, was every time she did that, she'd get out of her ship, so then she'd get back in and she'd lose the picture and then it would respawn. She's like, it's not working. But I'm like, that could totally work, though.
So the probe resets when you get in and out of your ship?
The probe doesn't reset, but the picture leaves your HUD.
Because when you're in the ship, the picture shows up in the ship, not like, otherwise you see it in your suit. So you're looking at two different images, basically. And that makes sense.
But when you get back into the pilot seat and you press to take a picture, it uses the same probe.
Right.
Which is the interesting thing.
Wild.
But yeah, looking at it, I was like, I never thought about it that way. That's brilliant. I always just flew around till I found it and then flew up to it and took a picture.
So what I didn't realize when I was playing is that you can just spin in fucking circles until it like spawns.
Yeah. Because if you're not looking at it, you're not looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
it'll just appear like, and it does, it's quantum. Like basically, you know, like in the like bed cave where you just like turn in circles to make things disappear. It's the same concept, right?
Yeah, I would
Spin
just,
strat OP.
I'd do this, look back and forth until it appeared, and then I'd go to it.
Spin strat. There was something else that I was thinking of that I saw people do that I was just kind of like, oh, like I would never, but I can't remember what it is now.
What about you?
Yeah, I haven't watched too many in a while. I kind of just needed a break from it, just because like I'd spent months
It was over the long period of time.
Very long period of time. So I haven't actually like delved back into watching other people play yet. So I don't really have an answer for it.
I know I saw a few things that Heather did differently from me, but like you said, it's been a while, so I can't remember what those were. But I remember sitting there watching and going, "Why didn't I think of that? Come on!"
Yeah, one of my favorite things about watching Heather play was the things that the like paths of thought that were completely wrong and would not work, but definitely made sense. So it'd just be like in the interloper chat, and it would just be like, wait, does she think she does? Wait, that's actually really smart. It's not going to work, but it's really smart.
Like, it makes sense. It's not right, but the logic is there.
The logic is sound. Yeah. And then it was like, okay, so how many times do we let her try this?
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, thoughts on the final campfire scene after the DLC? Well, let's answer. I want to answer that question too, but let's answer Beer's question first.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
What was Beer's question?
He wanted to know moments that made you go kind of like, oh, OMG, this game is beautiful.
For me, I think it was actually my first loop. I spent the majority of the loop, walking around and talking to people and figuring things out. And when I got my ship, I just started to explore Timberhearth. And I love Timberhearth just as an aesthetic. It's such a pleasant little planet. And the first thing that I found was the seed that came from the bramble, dark bramble. And I talked to the guy there, and I was looking at it and trying to figure it out. And I'm sitting there staring at this Cthulhu-esque tentacled giant monster with this gaping, maw. And I'm trying to figure out, like, how do I get rid of this? How do I save Timberhearth? And as I'm sitting there, the music starts playing, and I didn't know the music was special. I was like, oh, this is a nice tune. It's pleasant. And I'm looking, and then I just see the world begin to get bathed in the blue supernova that is the sun exploding. And I'm like, whoa. Like, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Just like the way that it was casting shadows and just how beautiful the light was and how everything looked. I was just blown away by it.
Yeah. I interrupt us.
I think...
Go ahead, Julia.
I think there were moments like at the end of a loop for me that I could have, done the meditation and just like ended the loop for myself. But sometimes like I wanted to find a really nice vantage point to watch the sun explode. You know, and those moments that I was able to do it, where I watched like the sun crumple in on itself and turn like white fiery hot and then just expand in this beautiful blue echoing thing, just made me feel so small in this really incredible way. And I think those were probably my favorite, like, this game is absolutely beautiful moments.
Yeah.
For me, I think it was going to Giant's Deep for the first time. And like that sort of just this sort of like from the outside looking like this sort of gas giant planet. And then you sort of break the atmosphere and then it's this water planet. And like with all of these cyclones like going around and you can sort of like see stuff in the distance. And like that was the first where I was just, that felt sort of like the most sort of like enveloping. First really just like I feel enveloped in this world moment. And that's why Giant's Deep is my favorite planet.
Hi, Tay. Hi, Tay. One of the smaller ones, because I feel like maybe the obvious answer, maybe it's not, but is like the ending, you know, like at the campfire. Like, and not that there weren't beautiful moments until that point. It's just that was like pinnacle of all of it. But I think like in my gameplay, besides obviously just like the graphics and what you're observing, I really thought it was quite beautiful that I decided to like end loops with each one of the Hearthians, you know, each one of our explorer friends.
Oh, that's nice.
That's so sweet.
Like, how beautiful is it in a game that you could just decide to do that and just like sit there with them. Each one has a different conversation as the world is ending, and you just like go there and make sure they're not alone, you know, and you're just there together.
You can just vibe with everybody and
exactly.
Parallel
and
panic
I was just
with Kurt.
Right, exactly. Just, you know, valid. But yeah, I think that was one of the like really beautiful points, I thought, and that like the game just gives you the option to do it. So I liked that a lot.
You know, I was gonna say I definitely ended a couple loops. I think one was with Rybeck. Shout out to the gentleman here in the background, Rybeck. And I think one was with Chert. And I remember watching Chert freak out, and it's like, I wish I could like comfort him in some way. Like I wanted to talk to him and be like, it's gonna be fine. But he was just full-blown panic. And that is a beautiful way to do it. I never thought of doing that, but I like that you did that. That's very cool.
I wrote a haiku about, I don't think I'm gonna find it, but I have a clip of it, about endings. And I feel like it kind of wrapped up for me like the beauty of the game. So I would share it now, but I can't find it, but I will give you guys the clip when I can find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would love that. I did have another like really beautiful moment. I don't know if any of you guys have ever played Subnautica. Highly recommend it. That is another game that I would say don't go into it with any prior knowledge. But if you like games similar to Outer Wilds, but it's got a little bit more gameplay to it than just traversing around. There's a mystery to it. There's some danger to it. But Outer Wilds reminded me a lot of Subnautica. And when I got to Brittle Hollow and I saw the black hole at the center for the first time, and my gut just dropped. I was like, that was another moment of just like awe-inspiring beauty of the game. And it reminded me of Subnautica because Subnautica is the only other game that has ever given me such like anxiety in playing a game. Not like fear, not like a horror game, but just like this overwhelming, like I feel so small.
Right. Space is, everything here is trying to kill me.
Yeah.
But like in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Not like Dark Souls.
Not like Dark Souls.
But like make it pretty.
Yeah.
It's just like space is terrifying. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
It truly is.
Existential dread.
How many times did you fall into the black hole, friends?
Hundreds. At least
A
dozens.
lot.
Intentionally or accidentally?
No, just accidentally.
Less than 10.
Wow, that's really quite impressive. I don't know if I believe you.
There was the time that I went to the forge for the first time, and I had gotten into the habit of jumping and jetpacking at the same time to give myself a little bit more boost. And the second I get there and I'm running, I go poof, and I just it's like, all right, note to self, don't do that again. I don't think I fell in accidentally more than 5 or 6 times. Missing a jump or flying too high and getting the gravity, losing gravity. But
I definitely ended up in the black hole multiple times as I was trying to get to the Southern Observatory.
Yeah.
Yep.
Something that I really love about this game is that, in addition to all of the things that it can sort of be obviously billed as, like a mystery game, an exploration game, like it's a physics game.
Yeah.
This is the most physicsy game that I've played maybe ever, where it's just like, here are the rules and they apply everywhere, and like, good luck.
Yep.
So like slingshotting around like the middle of the black hole and then landing somewhere and not dying was just like God gamer. Like it just like made it felt so good. It felt like beating a boss,
Take that, gravity.
It's a rite of passage, yeah.
I was so YOLO in Brittle Hollow.
You were. It was wild.
I was
Okay,
like
for Matt to say that is something.
So impressed.
I don't know what it was about that planet, but I like let's
You're just like, you
try.
see something in the distance and you're like, we can make it.
I was like, let's jump. I don't know how many times I made these like impossible jumps, and I did not die every time, but I did fall in the black hole quite a bit. I made it to what's the city there? Hanging City?
Hanging City?
Yeah, Hanging City.
Yeah, I made a crazy jump from the surface down to the broken bridge and landed it. Like, there was just a lot of YOLO moments. So me and the black hole became great friends.
That's impressive.
I'm checking to see if that's the one, Toon Wolf.
There you go. The haiku.
It's not loading for me either.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there, yeah.
There it is.
I would watch it, but I kind of want Julia to actually read it again to us, so I'm gonna wait for her to do that.
Well, let me listen to it so I remember how it goes.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, give me just a sec, guys.
Yeah, take your time. The entirety of Brittle Hollow, I kind of wished was a little bit longer of an experience. Like, I had so much fun with the fact that it was a city inside the crust of a planet that was also simultaneously falling apart. I was like, incredible. And I wanted to spend so much more time there. Quick question. Did you guys ever explore the volcanic moon that orbited Brittle Hollow?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that shot the giant asteroids that was breaking Brittle Hollow apart?
Heather, I'm not sure if you ever did. Yeah,
I don't think I did.
The lantern, Hollow's lantern.
Yeah, Hollow's lantern. That's what it's called. Yeah,
Wait, sorry. What was the question?
Did you guys ever explore Hollow's lantern?
Yes, I went everywhere.
Hollow's lantern actually has some lore tidbits in there. I don't remember exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's just like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
There's like a because that's where they harvested things to make Ash Twin projects.
Yeah, I think it's the only place they could actually melt down the metal.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I gotta boot it up again.
Tower of Quantum Knowledge in Brittle Hollow is also one of my favorite puzzles because it forces you to interact with time. It's probably, I would think for most players, it's the first time that they have to think of time as a variable.
Yeah.
In puzzles in the game.
That one took me so long to figure out.
Really matters later in the game, but like, because it's just that where you're just like, I don't understand. I've pressed every button. I've interacted with this in every way that I possibly can. How do I get there? And it's just like, you just gotta wait.
Yeah. That one took me forever to figure out. I was climbing the outside of the tower trying to get it. I was like, where's the entrance?
Same.
Well, I've got it. You guys want me to read you this haiku?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay. So, A haiku about endings, specifically Outer Wild endings. All the stars go out. It's just me and the music. The universe ends.
Oh wait, snaps for poetry?
Snaps?
I was feeling very emotional
That
when I
was good.
when I wrote that.
Mm-hmm.
That haiku alone just gave me some goosebumps, so
Yeah.
that was beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm sitting here rubbing my arms because
Yeah.
so
That was where I was after
Mhm.
the ending of Outer Wilds. I really felt some
Nice, nice.
things.
Same.
So how did that sort of emotional catharsis at the end of the base game that I think all of us felt versions of, how did that compare for people to the sort of like ending of the DLC? Like in what ways was that feeling similar? In what ways was it different?
I felt more emotional stimulation at the end of the DLC than I did the first game.
Like talking
what way?
to the prisoner?
Like at the end of the first game, I loved it and I felt that sense of like awe and inspiration, and like it was beautiful in the sense that it let things be reborn. And getting to watch like the cinematic and read about it and see what happens, I was like, this is really cool. But like a lot of people I know, they were like, you know, the ending made me cry, I was tearing up. I didn't end up feeling that at all, and I was like, something wrong with me? Like, yeah, it's
Am I
beautiful,
broken?
but why am I not crying like everyone else?
I definitely cried.
Yeah, I know a lot of people. Did Heather, Matt, did you guys cry?
Yes, both times.
I got like welled up.
Yeah.
For sure.
I did not get welled up at the end of the first game, and I could not figure out why, but I guess because it didn't feel like so much of an end to me and more of like a better beginning. Because like, you know, technically, even though they died, they were still alive. They were all together at the end as friends, and they were creating something bigger and better than they
That's
ever
what made
imagined.
me cry.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't know.
When I was going around and talking to everyone at the campfire, the fact that they were finally together again. You know, they had been strewn across the galaxy. Like, who's seen feldspar in the last dozen years?
That's
Nobody.
true.
Right? And here they are sitting at a campfire, and poor Esker is like, I can't wait to play together with everybody again.
Yep.
Like, just listening to them, like, having this sense of finality and the acceptance and the fact, like, it was momentous to me that them coming together made something so important. And that it was like each one of them had a thread of song to add to the end of the story. And so as I was going around talking to each of them, I just started crying.
Oh.
It wasn't
There I go
even
again.
like, yeah, I wasn't jumping in and it wasn't making everything explode. It was the family aspect of it when you bring them together and they're just so accepting. That was what was meaningful to me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think it's that second round of dialogue, because
Yes.
Solanum asks if you're ready, and you could totally miss it. You could just say, yeah, let's go. But if you talk to them each one more time, that dialogue is then what really like brought the waterworks, like, because I think at that point they're all like reassuring you that it's okay.
Yeah.
Like we're ready for this, we're prepared for this, everything's okay, and you're just like,
Hope
but
there's
it's not
beasties in the next
okay.
one. Yeah.
Hope there's beasties in the next one.
Yes. Oh,
And
favorite line.
You know that they're not going to be there anymore.
Right.
They don't know. They don't know what's going to be brought.
Yeah.
But they're ready to like give themselves for a brighter, like a continuation of life.
And
like
just for-
that. Ugh.
Or just like
Ugh.
everyone's like the sort of peace, as Solanum sort of describes it, of just like there were infinite ways that this could go, and we have
Yeah.
to decide that it went this way. Like that many has to become one, and like
Mhm.
that
The infinite possibilities.
have
Yes.
to distill down into a single way that it happened. And like that, like those sorts of themes resonate really deeply with me and like make me very emotional. Because it reminds me of like projects or like making albums where it's just you whenever you have like a long project or something that you're creating, it's like you have all of these different all of this possibility space. And the like one of the most exciting parts about it is all of the things that it could be, and then eventually you have to decide that it's done. And like it has to be one thing, and you have to grieve.
I'm getting teary-eyed.
Yeah, you have to grieve all of the things that it's not, because it can't be anymore. Like it has to just be one thing. And that's like that's a process that I had to go through so many times to really understand that it was a grieving process. And this game like tied into that on a like the universe scale in a way that was very unique and that I wouldn't expect from video games.
And I will add, this wasn't everybody's final experience, but I had beer in my channel when I was going through my final, like, finding everybody's instruments. And beer has this, like, I don't know how to explain it, this narration that he does that amplifies everything. And at first, the first two, like, every time you find one of the instruments and then find one of the friends for the campfire, he has sort of this reminder of who they are and how what is important about them in your journey and what they've brought to your journey and the things that they love. Yeah. And the first couple of times he said something, I didn't realize quite what he was doing, but by the third, I was like, it brought something so incredible and extra to me. And I wish that I had chat on screen when I was making that VOD, because I've lost, like my VOD still exists on YouTube, but you can't see what anybody is saying, unfortunately. So you can't see Beer's narration of it, but it was such an important part of the end for me that he reminded me of like the things that Feldspar loves and the things that Gabbro loves and what they mean to you. And so that was huge to me.
Yeah. And then in my playthrough, he also did that. And you were like, Matt, pay attention.
Yes.
Matt.
I was like, Matt, slow down.
Slow down. Matt, put down your guitar.
Listen. Stop like trying to go for the next thing. Just enjoy the experience.
Be in the moment, Matt. Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
Serenity
now,
Matt. But the best part was when Beer did his thing about like when everyone's playing together. And the thing was like, and you were the observer. Like you don't have an instrument. And meanwhile, I've grabbed my guitar and I'm like trying to play along and it's like not in time. I was like, this is very me. This is great.
This is very me to ruin how something nice somebody is like, not really ruin it, but like,
look.
No, you're supposed to be the observer and you're like, no, I'll be part of the band.
Yes, refusing to not participate. That sounds like me.
Yeah.
I think, so you had asked like, and how like that differed from the DLC, right? Undine? So I'm a softie, if you guys can't tell, and I I teared up at both. But I think the part that I really enjoyed about the DLC and the way they kind of like tied the two together was, I mean, one, they bring the stranger in and you can choose to have them play with you, which I thought was really beautiful in its own too, because throughout the DLC, you are seeing the instruments laid around in different locations. Like I made a joke, I'm like, oh, are we getting the band back together? Not knowing like, we are. But
I play the kazoo.
You play the kazoo. Sorry. That's so good.
I forgot about the kazoo.
The kazoo.
Wow.
But you know how there's those I don't even know what you'd call them. Those like wooden shutters, thingy-majiggers. Where you go down into their grave and you have to extinguish the light of the nomai, right? And then of the strangers and then of yourself. And that's the part that I was like, what do you mean I have to like extinguish my own flame?
Yeah.
which I think invoked a lot of those same feelings like we were talking about that were at the end of the base game, right? Like
Yeah.
it's time to go. There's not really another option. We have to do this.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really resonated and for me like helped connect them together in like a really special way.
Yeah, and a lot of games like play with like feeling powerful and feeling powerless a lot, but not quite in this sort of existential way where you're like, yes, I am the main character of the story, and yes, I am sort of the most important person in the universe right now, but like, it doesn't mean that you're gonna get past this, right? It's like
You're not saving the world.
you're not saving the world. You're not the savior.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really plays on, because like it tricks you in a way into thinking, okay, here's the problem. The sun is exploding. You've got to fix it.
Yeah.
And I spent so long thinking that we were going to stop the supernova.
Same.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because of the whole, like, the sun station. Once you figure out that the sun station was made to make the supernova go off, you're like, all right, well, I got to get to the fucking sun station and make it go off. Turn it off. But then you get there and you're like, oh, it never worked.
Yeah.
It's just this flip of expectations that really, I love that when a game can do that.
Yeah. And apparently that's what's happening in Beer's tabletop version right now, where they're like very much at the end, but they're still trying to save everybody.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh.
Sweet summer children.
Well, because we're so used to that, right? Like in most games we play, like we are the hero, we are there to fix it or resolve it. I feel like, at least in my experiences, it's very rare that you don't. Like you guys said, we're just an observer.
Yeah,
Yeah, Mercury, exactly.
Oh, I didn't know that you'd played it before Mercury. That's great. Cool.
I think I resonated a little bit more with the ending of the second one.
Yeah.
Probably say more. Probably because the stranger was essentially exiled for so long. I don't know.
The prisoner, you mean, right?
Yeah, I don't know what it is about like the loneliness and the exile and being the strongest person of his people to make sure that like the better ending happened.
And get punished for it.
Like he did the thing that he needed to do and his people hated him for it, but he knew it needed to happen. And finding his story was so compelling to me, and the more I unraveled and the more that I saw and the more that I watched, the more I identified with him and like felt for him. And so then finding him at the end when he finally showed me like everything in its order with his staff, I was just like, that was the mind-blowing moment for me of just like, this guy. And then when I got the opportunity to show him what happened, and then he disappeared.
Amazing.
I was like,
Yeah.
what happened to him? Where did he go?
Yeah. I think it's a human thing to always want to be, how can I say this? Like the story of the prisoner is one that we are always going to be sympathetic to because they did the right thing. And it's so hard to watch somebody, it's so hard to be the one to stand against your people.
Yeah.
To be the only person who knows that what is happening is wrong. And it's like, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's when everybody says this is the right thing to do, it's just really hard to be the nail that sticks out.
Yeah.
Like the
Right?
dissenter. Yeah, the lone dissenter.
Yeah, the dissenting voice.
The dissenting voice. It's like, it's scary, but this elk, whatever they are, did it anyway. And so you just feel very strongly about this person who did this really difficult thing in their society, and made it possible for you to save the universe. Recreate the universe.
So one thing that I really love that they did at the end, and I think that really got me because I didn't expect it, was when you're getting all the instruments and you have the opportunity to get the strangers and you get his
Prisoner.
I'm sorry, the prisoners, and you get his, he's just standing off in the woods. And like you go to talk to him and he kind of comes a little bit closer, but he's still off in the woods. He doesn't join you. And I was like, no, dude, like you did so much for us. Like you are part of this. You are and like I kept seeking him out. I was like, get over here. And I wasn't expecting the game to actually want me to do that, to talk to him again, to say, no, join us, actually join us. Like you're forgiven.
So one thing that Beer mentioned, and I always think about this, is Beer, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember you saying you don't like the fact that we're given that choice because everybody always says yes. So then kind of why are they making you sort of go through that? I don't know exactly what it is for you that like makes that a choice that you find, I don't even know the right words, but how, I don't know. What do you guys think about the fact that you have that choice? Because I don't know that there's no way that I would say no. There's no way that I would be like, no, you can't, because you just feel like this person is part of your experience and part of what made everything happen.
I like having to say yes. Even if 100% of people do it and it's like maybe sort of silly mechanically, I think that like having it not just be a press A to interact, but press A to invite.
Make a choice.
Yeah. I like that.
I
mean...
Go on,
go
Heather.
ahead, Drew.
Mine is a comment after
I'm
all
reading,
of this, so
I'm
you go
reading
ahead
chat
first,
as
and then I'll
we're-
say what I was going to say.
I mean, my curiosity is still piqued because I have yet to go and see what happens when you say no. I'm really curious about that, but I guess with the whole DLC experience, right? Our whole experience with their people sucks.
Yeah.
with the prisoners, people absolutely sucks. So I could see how even though they were the dissenting voice and did the right thing, how maybe you might not want them to join.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could maybe see the reasoning for having the no there. But of course I said yes, because I mean, like you guys had said, they're part of our journey, and they did what they needed to do. So yeah, I am kind of curious what the no is still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody's done it and put it on YouTube.
Probably.
I'm sure. I just have to like look it
Yeah.
up.
I haven't really
Seek
thought
it out.
about going to look it up until now.
I don't know about you guys, but when I had that conversation, I actually sat there and thought about it for a moment. I was like, do I actually want him to join? Could I trust him? Because, like, his people thought that hiding the signal of the Eye of the Universe was the way to preserve the world, which is why they were doing it. And the fact that he went, no, this is something that should happen. The universe should end, and it should be recreated in some way. It was very interesting of like, I felt like it was like the other side of the coin. Like, because like you guys were saying, in every game you play, you're trying to save the world. You're trying to save the universe. You're trying to save everyone. And by his action alone, felt like it essentially caused what would end the universe. And that was, it allowed the Nomai to come and it killed the Nomai. They were there when the Interloper got there. It caused the supernova to happen. But then at the same time, you think of the flip side and you go, well, if it weren't for him, the Nomai never would have come, which meant that the Hearthians never would have gotten their technology. They never would have explored. They never would have grown.
Yeah.
And so, like, I sat there and, like, in my mind, just very quickly went through this inner turmoil of, like, did he do something wrong? Did he not do something wrong? Like, do I forgive him? Do I not forgive him? Do I want him to join? Do I not want him to join? And I mean, I very clearly said yes, but I am very curious if there is a no, an actual no option, and what happens if that happens. Like, do you just go back and talk to everyone else and like, not all the instruments are here yet? Or...
So, I mean, I think that it's probably like a definitive decision.
I think so.
Yeah.
I would hope
And I
so.
mean,
I
you
don't-
can finish the game without ever like meeting Solanum.
Yeah.
That's true.
And the same will be true now of The Prisoner, which, you know, doesn't feel true because we played them as like almost separate games, but
Yeah.
it's really just integrated into the base game. But for me, when I walked up to The Prisoner and they asked me that question, do you really want me to be part of this? Like, I sat there with it for a second, not because I was on the fence because the answer was absolutely yes, but I was just so floored
Yeah.
by the idea of not having them as part of the final experience. Because, you know, and in the same way that, you know, when I went around the campfire the first time that I finished the game and I talked to them and it was so meaningful to have everybody there, like going up to the prisoner and including them in that in the same way was just, you know, everybody's there. Everybody needs to be there.
Yeah. I couldn't think of the game ending in any other way.
Yeah. However, my whole experience with the DLC was a very different sort of journey. And excuse me, goodbye.
You're so quick at that.
Well, I've got it literally right there. I really struggled emotionally through the DLC in a way that I didn't in the base game. I really loved the exploration. I felt safe. Like, sure, we were dying left and right, falling into black holes, flying into the sun, whatever. But it felt, you know, the way that Matt is a YOLO player, there's no like consequence in the same way. And so I felt okay about just like going anywhere, doing anything. I wasn't scared.
You weren't being hunted in the base game.
I wasn't being hunted. I was on my own, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, in the DLC, it was like, there was always the chance. And I think that it's kind of rough that the developers put right at the very beginning, do you want to, like, some people find this experience frightening. There's an option to turn like low frights or whatever, like right at the beginning of the game, because that set me up for just like being terrified the whole time.
You're like,
honestly.
It could happen at any moment.
Yeah. I didn't know that it was going to be when you go into the shadow world. I was like in the stranger, constantly afraid that I was going to go around a corner and run into something. And that's just like, I was always scared. And that was not a fun experience for me.
Yeah.
And I got more and more like depleted as I went. And so when I was going into the vault, I was like, why am I even doing this? Why is this my goal? This seems like, you know, like you've unearthed the tomb of Tutankhamun and there's a curse in there and you're just going to wrench it open. There's a reason they like sealed this shit, right? And so,
have we not seen any movies?
Yes, exactly. So I'm like going into the vault, terrified out of my mind. And you guys may remember seeing me do this, but like I'm in that room where the door just fucking opens by itself and I hear the door creak and I paused the game and I sat there for like 2 minutes just going, no, 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 no. It's just like, I remember like going and looking in the interloper after, and there were people, they were taking bets. They were like, does Julia run away when she sees the prisoner? I did not, by the way. But I still had the catharsis. Thank you, Pup. I still had the catharsis of like feeling so deeply when I met the prisoner. Now, do I feel like that journey was worth it for me?
Depends on the day.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I got the catharsis.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful and it was amazing. And I wouldn't get that if I just watched somebody else's, you know, YouTube playthrough. So I'm glad that I got it, but I'm not glad about what it took me to get there.
Right.
Is how I feel. Yeah.
What were your feelings about the DLC, Heather, seeing as you completed it most recently?
I loved it. So here's the thing. I actually forgot about that warning at the beginning. So it was like totally out of my mind. I'm like, this is great. And I loved how it was like a little more linear and it wasn't as wide of like exploration and choices. It just felt like, I don't know, it made me happy. Not that the base game didn't, but I felt like the
you only
DLC
had to fly your ship to one
me.
place.
Yeah, and the DLC gripped me so much faster. in a different way than the base game did. I think it took me a little while to really get into the base game, just because there was so much of figuring out, well, what the heck am I even doing? Whereas I felt with the Stranger, it was a little more clear, right? And I had this finite space that I was working with, and then also it was just like, here's what you think the game is. Well, guess what? Now there's a Shadow Realm. What? New game. And then it was like, well, guess what? Now you're being hunted. New game. And I was like, level unlocked. I love this. And so I don't know. It just like really spoke to me and got me like really excited about it. Granted, the running around in the dark and being jump scared all the time was rough. It was scary. It did get a little tiring at some points. Like I think especially for the Bing Bong puzzle with the pier, you know, and you're trying to get past it. Like, oh, that was just so difficult.
Oh, was that the one that I came in and said, hey, map it out beforehand?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That one.
That one gave me a lot of trouble
too. Also, even in the Murder Hotel. Even there, it was a little rough. But thankfully, I'd gone out of my comfort zone around Halloween time and played some scary games that I never would have played. And somehow I feel like that steeled me and prepared me for it. So I was okay. Had I not played any of those games, I probably would have like very different feelings about it. Probably more similar to how Julia felt. Like, yes, the ending was great. The catharsis journey, meh.
Yeah.
But I was somehow okay with it.
I to answer Chai, who said, did you ever turn on reduced frights? I was just such in this like knotted chest situation the entire time that I finally was like, in order to like feel like I can still play this game, I have to do it.
What is it? What is the difference that it makes?
The difference is the owls will move more slowly when they approach you.
Okay. So it's less of just like grab 'em.
It's not like
Less screamy, maybe.
No, I don't think they're less screamy. I just think they're like drunker.
That like deep like synth sound that plays when they grab you.
Oh, God. Did you guys ever get grabbed by one when you did not have the lantern?
Yes.
Yes.
I was
For science.
Yeah. I was so curious what I thought. So
no, I didn't. Sorry, I'm remembering Matt having done that.
That's okay. So the lodge, I was trying to figure out how to get past the lodge because you were supposed to like go through the fireplace.
I did.
So I dropped the lantern thinking, oh, they can't touch me if I'm not corporeal. Like if I'm not there, they can't see me. And I didn't realize that it's not, you're now a ghost and invisible. It's just that you're not rendering the world around you. And so going in there and seeing one of them grab me, I was like, well, this is significantly less scary, but not how I wanted this to turn out.
Yeah.
I did that too. I did that many a time trying to get through that puzzle.
Yeah, that one took me a while to figure out. That was a fun epiphany moment for me, was realizing,
Agreed.
Oh, I ended up going to the mountain base chapel and going from there instead of the tower chapel, just so I'd have more time. But
yeah,
same.
Speaking of puzzles, just generally, it's just like the sort of fundamental thing that this game just like blows away out. That isn't even the emotional aspects of it. Is just that like the way that it's sort of like an escape room puzzle, but there's almost no locks and there's almost no keys.
Yeah.
It's just knowledge. Like it's just like all of it is right there. It's just like you have to know where to look and how to figure it out. And like just like from a pure design perspective, I feel like that's just such an accomplishment.
Yeah.
For it to work that well, non-linearly, and all of that. I just don't think I've ever played a game like that.
Yeah.
Except maybe since Myst. I don't remember how much like locks and keys and stuff there were in Myst back in the day.
I think quite a bit more, because like, you know, in Outer Wilds, you can beat the game from the second you start. Like,
right.
You just don't have the knowledge. In Myst, I think you actually have to like go and unlock things and turn things around, and it's a little bit more, but I think it follows a similar vein.
So Hiltz asked, what was the hardest moment for you while watching another player? Aside from Matt not seeing the coordinates.
I think, well, when I was watching Heather and like modding in Heather and like trying to like giving good hints is really hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it's a skill. I was joking with my next door neighbor. I have like a 6-year-old next door neighbor who's getting into video games, and he's been playing Breath of the Wild, and then his dad also plays Breath of the Wild, but like on a separate save. And then Nico is like, yeah, sometimes when I'm watching my dad play and I know what to do, like I just tell him what to do. Giving hints is really hard. I'm just like, I try to give a hint, and then I'm just like, and then I just tell him the answer. And I was like, yeah, like it's hard. And so like figuring out that like that balance of one, like, yeah, just all of the balances there. Luckily, most of the time I just had to say, let's take a second and verbalize the things that you know.
Yeah.
And that worked almost every time. So I didn't even have to say a hint.
I think one of the things with hinting is that you have to know how the person you're hinting to, how their brain works.
For sure.
And Matt, I understand how your brain works. And so hinting to you was very easy for me.
Mhm.
Hinting to Heather was more difficult. Because I'd be like, I'll say it like this, just to try to twig her in a certain direction, but she'd go off over there instead, and I'd be like,
I know.
all right, now, you know, so, but for Hiltz, I don't know that I have an answer for you.
Yeah, but it was also really helpful to like have the interloper where we could sort of like, I could be like, if I said this, is that too much?
Yeah.
Or like, is it too little? Or is it not actually like pushing in the right direction? Like workshopping that stuff was really helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Shadow.
I love you, buddy.
We all do our best.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I have really a
Also
moment.
that
Oh yeah. Oh god, the DLC, like I love the base game, but the DLC had so many like epiphany moments for me that were just like, oh, that's how this works. And oh, like Heather said, it was in such a good linear fashion that like they took everything they knew from the base game and then simplified it a little bit more, but added new things to the DLC.
Mhm.
And it just, for me, it was like I felt like I really hit my stride with that and figuring out a lot of stuff. Like, oh, it was just so much fun.
I think for me, like, there's no specific, aside from watching Matt try to put the codes in and have that whole situation going on.
Or when you were literally sitting here.
Yeah, that. And I was like seeing the things right there that you were just not seeing. Yeah.
Just like eyes in the background.
I think for me, what can be difficult, and this is a personal thing, it's not like a specific moment, it's like something that for me, my brain just clicked on and put 2 and 2 together, and I'm watching other people like come at it from a direction that's not helping them make the connection. So it feels easy, even though it's not necessarily easy, because everybody thinks differently, right? But for me, it felt easy. So watching somebody else struggle is difficult for me, because I'm like, well, why is that so hard for you? And I don't mean to be condescending with that. It's just like, I don't know, because my brain works differently and their brains work differently. I don't know like where the disconnect is when I'm watching somebody do that.
It's the Metatron of the situation.
It's the Metatron of the situation.
Is that a Fez thing?
Yeah, it is.
How well do y'all think the DLC fit with the base game? That's like, I'm fascinated to talk to somebody who didn't just do one and then the other.
Yeah, same.
So
I don't think it fit.
It was an entirely different feeling. It did not feel like the same game. It felt like Outer Wilds 2 more than it felt like Outer Wilds, the base game, and a DLC.
Correct. Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think that that's true mechanically. Emotionally, I think that it still hits a lot of the same themes.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yes.
It's not sort of like an amendment on top of some of the themes from the base game.
But here's what, for me, like, the journey of Outer Wilds, the base game, feels so fully realized and developed that when they said they were going to do that DLC, I was like, how are they going to work something, it's just so
And I was like, in
perfectly
the
put
announcement,
together.
they were like, you might be asking yourself how or why.
Right. But they created this, it's like a side story. It's like this, you take a jump to the right and you go down this other track thing. And it's not like with Solanum where you know that the quantum moon is there, it's a potential goal, and when you get there you meet Solanum, but you don't have to go there, kind of thing. Like you can completely miss the stranger and it has no bearing on your story. So it's this entirely separate story going on parallel in a way to the base game. So trying to play them both at once, and interweaving them seems very difficult, because once you get to the stranger, it's just this self-contained situation.
It is.
And yes, as any DLC ever could have, Pop, I agree with that. The fact that they did make it fit in the way that it did is incredibly impressive. But I don't think that it's part of the story, but I don't think that I just feel like it's two separate stories, but then they converge at the end in a way.
I agree. It does feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, it basically felt like a whole nother game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but not in the fact that it's not related at all. I mean, there was so much content. It could have been Outer Wilds too. I mean, I feel like even though the mechanics were slightly different, it still had you still knew what game you were playing. It still had the essence of Outer Wilds in many ways.
Yeah.
Even though you're doing these light, mechanics now and things like that. The way they approach the puzzles, and we had lore now in movie form. A lot of that was very reminiscent of the base game in a cool way, I thought.
Interruptus, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Interruptus makes a very good point. They said, I didn't like how different the DLC felt tonally. For example, there's not a single moment of humor in the DLC. And it's
a grim dead place.
It's very true.
Yeah. There's levity in the base game.
There's a lot of levity in the base game. And I think that's part of the charm.
Yeah. In the communications between the Nomai, when you're reading them, the funny way that they say things, on the other appendage, right? You get none of that. You have no real connection to these Alks.
No.
You can't read their language. In a lot of ways, you don't know what you're doing there the entire time. You don't really feel like you have a goal.
Yeah.
So
I will say, playing Outer Wilds 1 with the DLC installed, I was always afraid that I was going to stumble on the DLC first. And I was basically told, don't worry about it. But in the back of my mind, it was always like, I wonder if this is DLC. I wonder if this is DLC.
That's interesting.
And the only time I actually encountered part of the DLC was, I think, the night you guys raided me. And
indeed it was.
And I was somehow flying around, and I happened to, out of sheer luck, I happened to get in between the stranger and the sun, and I just see this sudden huge eclipse on the sun. I'm like, what's that? And
What the fuck is this?
went right toward it, but I could not get in it.
Yeah, you can catch it.
I mean, I was on the, sun here, stranger here, I was out here, so I theoretically should have been able to touch it, get to it, but I somehow missed it, and I'm very glad that I did. Yeah, should have.
Yeah. Penetrate. Yeah.
But I'm glad that I did miss it, because if I hadn't missed it and I had gotten in there and started exploring things, I think that would have completely derailed the entire game for me. And
agreed.
It never left my mind, but I forgot about it. I was like, I'm not even going to worry about it. I'll come across it later. I thought maybe it was something in the future that I would come across, and I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to find out what this weird thing is.
Yeah.
I also hated that they never translated the Alks language.
How could they?
I was hoping that you would find something that would be like.
No
I was hoping to.
Parthian.
Yeah, I was hoping to.
Rosetta Stone.
Yeah, I mean, there was no Hearthian to know my Rosetta Stone. They just sat there and cracked the code after a while.
Context clues, yeah.
Yeah.
They had a long time to do it.
But I so badly wanted to know what their sign said, because like you could read so many of them. I was like, what is it? What is it? What is so important?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. They only have 20 minutes this time. I'm gonna say that probably it was like legitimately more than 20 minutes between like the beginning of the loop, like in game, because can you imagine flying to another planet in 20 minutes?
You know, that's interesting because I'm pretty sure in the lore it's actually 22 minutes. Like they specifically state a couple of times that it's 22
right.
No, it
minutes.
is.
So
Everything's just really small and close. Like they are small planets that are not very many meters apart.
Yeah, you're right.
or
They do
everyone's
multiple
just really
cycles
big.
around the sun within just a couple minutes.
Yeah.
There's no real day or night, y'all.
Our ship is also way faster than we think it is.
Apparently so. Duct taped together though it is.
Yep.
It's such an adorably tiny solar system. It was such like Little Prince vibes for me right at the beginning. Like I
Oh.
felt right at home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're actually almost at 2 hours, which I
Mhm.
know,
Yep.
Julian, you intended this to be a 1 hour podcast.
I said probably an hour because you guys were apprehensive, like, we probably won't have that much to talk about. I was like,
Oh yeah, right.
we'll plan for 2 hours.
So, and
We
Matt,
should wrap up because I need
yeah,
to,
you
like,
gotta
Yeah.
get back to your
dinner
path
and
of pain.
dog things and continue
But-
my struggles.
I guess, is there any, like, Julian, since you put this together, is there any last thing you would like us to consider, think about, talk about?
There was one question I had earlier I didn't get to ask, and that was, how long did it take you all to figure out how to get past the anglerfish?
Too long.
Oh. I
Too long
think
as
I
well.
think I remember having a situation where I was like very frustrated, particularly when you go into like the red
Mm-hmm.
hole. That game is where my love of holes became legendary. I want you to know.
That is where the lore began.
It is where the lore began. My need to penetrate holes. So I think I needed my chat to be like, you know, because I kept getting caught. I think I needed a little bit of help, and because I was getting very frustrated. I don't remember how long it actually took me.
Maybe
But
an
I
even
think-
better question is, what is the weirdest tactic that you tried to get past the anglerfish that didn't
Oh,
work?
I don't think I had any tactics. I think I was just. Oh, are we looking at Heather right now? Is that what's
Heather?
happening?
I've got one too. Heather, what's yours?
What did I think it was? I was like, was I say like it was? I thought for some reason that like we were kind of in water-ish, and that it was like maybe the vibrations of the water that were alerting it to me. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, you're
Like,
like,
so like I
they
was
can't
making like
see
a
very
ripple
well, but it's
effect.
vibrations.
Yeah, like they can't see me. Okay, but they're still catching me. So how? And I was like, well,
I mean, technically, you were
water.
right.
I'm like, I'm in a water substance, right? And my ship must be making some sort of like ripples
Mhm.
through it, and they're feeling that and coming after me. That has to be it. And I was like, but how do I not do that? I didn't catch the whole like sound aspect of it.
Yeah.
Just
but
a second, guys.
Or like what
I
makes
like kind of
sound.
got, yeah. And I was even with that train of thing, I was very close to it in that like it's my ship, right? Like I just no thrust. We just got to like float. So yeah, that's one of the many things I looked at in a very strange way.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, you're like, oh my God, what? What was I thinking? I had so many of those moments. Like, what was I thinking?
So
Yep.
I kind of came at it in a similar fashion. I was like, okay, they're blind. They're obviously tracking you via like sound vibrations. So I was like, I have to not make noise, or like my ship's making too much noise. So I was like, maybe I have to abandon the ship. So I went full throttle into the red hole, and then hit full throttle as I got into it, jumped out of my seat, ejected from it, and then went down. And so because I did that, my ship stopped thrusting. So they went toward my ship and then just went right for me. And I managed to somehow hide in like the little cracks along the shell of Dark Bramble. And I had a fish like, here I am. And the fish was like this, trying to get me as I like slid along the wall. And I somehow got away from it. But that was the craziest thing I did, like getting around it. And then I picked up my ship back at the center, where it was by the eggs.
There are multiple orange cats on stream right now.
There are.
Wow.
Ah,
Incredible stuff.
Heather, your cat
Incredible.
is looking at Julia's cat like, excuse me?
Like, hey, you?
I think Shadow asked if we had talked about the alternate endings or what we experienced of those, and I saw Matt comment a little bit. You guys ended up breaking reality a few times, yeah?
Just for kicks.
Mm-hmm. Just for funsies.
Yeah.
I definitely made sure that Matt did it.
Yeah, and we did it before my final run, I
Oh.
think. Because it was sort of early in a stream, and it was clear that like we would probably have time to do everything.
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, before we do the last thing, like lead me to some of the Mimi stuff.
I think I did mine after after beating the game. I went and did the one on the Ash Twin project where you like break it with the drone, and then I did the couple that you could do inside the Ash Twin project.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those
The high energy lab, the first one, yeah.
yeah, the high energy lab, that's it.
Yep.
They were pretty fun.
It's clever. I mean, it was just like I like that that's a thing. I like that they
Yeah.
had to consider that was that they had created a system in which that was a possibility and decide
Mm-hmm.
what should happen
Mhm.
if somebody did it.
Yeah.
I just love that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I did like one alternate ending with the DLC. Just because I was just really curious
Oh
about
yeah.
it.
It's like if you take
it
the
was-
core to the stranger, right?
Yeah, I took the core to the stranger because I still wanted to like figure out what happened to the prisoner, because like you're left with a now what moment for so long.
Yeah.
And what did I do? It was like I just remember it being like it would be great if you could just wake up, but you can't. I don't remember how I did it, but
So you take the core out so the loop won't happen, but then you kill
Yes.
yourself on a fire.
on a
And so
fire.
you go into the simulation, and now you're stuck in the simulation forever.
Yeah, that was it.
Did you guys ever
Thank
kill
you.
yourselves not on the fire? Or like just let the supernova end while you were on the stranger without going into the simulation?
I mean, it just is the end of the loop then, right? Oh,
Like
with
you take the warp
with
core out
core?
and then you
Oh,
you
no.
don't go into
I
the
didn't
simulation.
I didn't do any DLC
No.
endings aside from the main one.
That one was
Yeah, I just
probably
did one.
the saddest for me because basically it was like, so what I did was I took the core out and then I went to that command room table where you see the stranger leaving the sun and getting outside of the radius.
Oh, that's right.
And I watched it until it happened, and then I sat there for a minute. I was like, nothing's happening. Can I just keep exploring? Like, can I just keep doing stuff? And then as soon as you walk out the door back into, like, the ring world portion of the stranger, it fades to black, and it basically says, like, I hope you can scrounge for some food, or that someone comes and picks you up, because the universe is empty now. And I was just like,
Oh,
because the whole universe is dying,
Right.
like all the stars are exploding. And
right.
All the planets are gone. All the stars are
Huh.
gone. It moved you out of, radius of being
Right.
exploded. Yeah.
Yep.
It took me. I sat on that stupid table for a long time trying to figure out what on earth I needed to do with it, and the answer was nothing.
Yep.
Yes, it's nothing. It's just informational.
Yeah.
It's just world building.
So, Cody, if it's all right
Mm-hmm.
to do a little bit of promo for somebody here at the end of your
Absolutely.
stream,
You mean
our
aside
friend
from you
Jen the
guys?
Human is going to be doing an anniversary stream on May 3rd, on Monday evening,
Ooh.
for Outer Wilds. And It's gonna be Jen is an incredible supporter of everybody who's been doing Outer Wilds and is one of the mods and admins of the Interloper Discord channel. And we love Jen, so y'all should know. And yes, let me shout out Jen Human. You should go, like, if you love Outer Wilds the way we love Outer Wilds, please go hang out with Jen to watch some of her clips and stories and
hold on,
all of those kinds of things. Oh, it shouted out me.
Yeah,
why does this happen in every stream?
It's because.
Did I say 3rd?
Julia.
Oh, she says May 3rd.
Apparently
in her post.
It's because actually it says May 2nd now. 1 year ago, May 3rd, 2021 is when she started her journey.
Oh,
this year on May 2nd.
I read it wrong.
That's
Got
okay.
it. Okay.
So
Monday's the 2nd.
Monday.
The 2nd on Monday. Yes.
The reason why it does that apparently is because she hasn't talked in the chat, so you can't like at them, so it just defaults to you instead of trying to put their name into the Twitch URL. It's really dumb.
I would buy that explanation, but it happens all the time in Matt's chat.
Even if they've talked?
Stream Elements thing.
Yep.
Oh.
They've rated in, they've said something, and it's like, well, you should go follow ForeverJulia. And I'm like, no.
I mean, y'all should totally go follow ForeverJulia, and you guys should totally go follow Arrowess, and you guys should totally go follow MXNorthwest here.
Yes, I was going to say MX North Coast, correct.
What a segue.
Because
speaking of that, right? Our friend MX North Coast is just about to finish his Path of Pain stream tonight.
I'm just about to finish. Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Just about to finish.
I will be going live again. I have to like heat up some dinner and do some doggo stuff, and then I'll be going live again.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
and then Heather, you're also going live later tonight.
I am, yeah. So if you want some more frights,
no, thank you.
We are halfway to Halloween, all.
Oh wow.
So, I'm going to be trying to finish up Alien Isolation. That was a sub goal thing, and I've made my way into it very far, and then just needed to let it go for some time. But yeah, if you want some more frights, I'm gonna try to finish that up. Halloween, it's a thing now.
Halloween, that's so cool.
Halloween.
But yeah, you all, everyone watching, I'm sure most of you already do, but if you don't, you really do need to go follow Julia, Heather, and Matt, because they are truly wonderful people, and it has been an absolute pleasure to sit here and chat with you all, and get to talk about a game that brought us all together and brought our friendship together. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me and do this. And
thank you for the idea, Cody, and all the work that you put into it.
Yeah.
Very fun.
All 10 minutes at the end
there.
Incredible stuff.
Incredible stuff. We love to see it.
Yeah.
I love to see you guys, so thank you.
I'd love to do another podcast stream at some point for something.
Yeah. Hey, I'm down.
Yeah.
Two, you could do a Fez one.
Oh my god.
That's true.
So, while I loved the end of Fez, some other people had some negative reactions to the final puzzles.
I see. I see.
Fez, in its essence, was a great game. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very cute. I loved it a lot. But I did have quite a bit to say about some of those puzzles.
We won't get into that now, though.
Yeah, that's for the actual Fez podcast stream.
We should do one. We should do one where each of us bring a game that we adore that none of the other ones have played, and make a pitch for it.
Well, that's I like. Well, okay, we'll talk about it.
Sort of a book report framework. And
yeah, but then once you do your pitch, what do you talk about?
It's just we each do the pitch, and then we have some sort of clarifying questions, and then we can, the rest of us can like pretend that we like aren't convinced. You know?
So like Shark Tank, but like Streamer Tank.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. I like the sound of this. All right, Matt. That's your project
like,
now.
I know it sounds crazy, but you guys really have to try Barbie Dream Horse or whatever that one that rides has the world record in.
I think I know what the first game I have to try to convince y'all to play is then, and that's Subnautica.
Yeah, none of us have played it. I will fight you on some stuff that on some preconceived notions. I will pretend to fight you on some preconceived notions.
Okay.
For the content.
I'll come up with the argument if you come up with the show. How's that?
Great. All right, sounds good.
But
well, thank you guys so much for joining us and listening to us.
Yes. Thanks for being a great chat.
Yeah.
Asking great questions.
Fantastic questions.
Good job, everyone.
Yay!
Yay!
Claps for everyone. But yeah, so guys, go follow them. They're wonderful, lovely people. And go check out Matt. He's about to continue his Path of Pain, which is Hollow Knight. I know a bunch of you love Hollow Knight. Heather is going to be playing some more Alien Isolation, and who doesn't want to see Heather get scared?
And tomorrow I play Horizon Forbidden West.
Ooh, and then tomorrow Julia plays Horizon Forbidden West. So
big weekend.
Big weekend. A lot of content. A lot of cool people. But thank you guys again. Chat, have a wonderful night. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Be kind to yourselves. Be kind to each other. And as always, we'll see you on the next venture.